True love comes to us most probably in the most silent moments of our life. A simple touch, the warmth of the other, a word that is written and sent, a commitment that is lasting. Love.
मूलं समीक्ष्य यत्र गम्यता सर्वेषां मार्गं तथैव प्रवृत्ति मूलं समीक्ष्य यत्र गम्यता सर्वेषां मार्गं तथैव प्रवृत्ति.
Sisters and brothers, a very hearty welcome to each one of you to the 29th Sunday in the liturgical year of the ordinary time. These days, I feel a bit confused, especially when the discussions are about the theme love. Many of us ask each other the question, what in fact is the true love? When I was a little child, I always thought that those who smile at me love me. As a youth, I defined love from the perspective of the good gift that I give to the one whom I consider close to me, or the gift that I receive from him or her. But at this time of my life, when I look at my person and my relationship with the other, I begin to define love as simply being. Being near to the other who is dear to my heart. And this nearness need not be even a physical nearness, but a spiritual identity, an interior connectivity that I experience with the other, in spite of the distance of miles. In the recent times when I was walking through a park, I happened to see a very touching scene. An elderly couple sitting together on a bench in the park. They held the hands of each other. They were looking to a far distant point, never uttering a single word, not even a facial expression. I was just thinking, have they not fallen in love? True love comes to us most probably in the most silent moments of our life. A simple touch, the warmth of the other, a word that is written and sent, a commitment that is lasting. Love. When I was going through the Gospel of the day, I was in fact falling in love. We are presented today with a scenario where two siblings, James and John, come to Jesus and asking him a fundamental demand, a demand that they hold dear to their heart. And what is their demand? They tell him, permit us that one of us sits at your right and the other at your left when you are in the kingdom. A natural desire of a relative, perhaps. As all of us know, James and John were considered to be the cousins of Jesus. So they were taking this priority on themselves, saying, we are different from that of the other. And they felt perhaps for themselves this importance that Jesus gave to them from the incidents that are being narrated in the Gospel. At the time of the raising of the daughter of Jairus, James and John together with Peter were the ones who were present there. On the Mount Tabor, at the time of the transfiguration of Jesus, these three were the ones who were present there. And in almost all the major incidents which are mentioned, we would find these three people in the vicinity of Jesus. Now James and John come to Jesus and tell, give us a special place. The response of Jesus was very startling perhaps for them. Jesus did not answer their question, but he asked them 3 questions in return. First and foremost, are you ready to suffer? Secondly, a statement. It is not my duty to assign a place for you at the right or the left. And the third, if you wish to be at my right or left, you should be able, first and foremost, to love and serve the other. Yes, they had to understand this statement of Jesus very pertinently. There are vivid examples of it, that this demand of Jesus became very silly for them. You would see in the course of time, when Jesus was on the Mount Gethsemane, as he was about to suffer, he finds none of these disciples near him, including James and John. He asked them 2 things. Are you ready to drink the chalice that I am going to drink? Are you ready to be baptized with me? Yes, the chalice is one of suffering. Anyone who tells that I love you must be able to drink also the cup of suffering along with the one whom he or she loves. And that's exactly the demand that Jesus makes. When you say that you wish to sit near me, you must be able to equally share the struggles of my life. But where are you when I am on the Mount Gethsemane? When I struggle there, when I am sweating out blood, when the chalice is full of suffering, are you there with me? Are you ready to have the baptism that I am having? This baptism that Jesus is inviting them to partake is a baptism of immersing themselves totally into the water until they get suffocated in the water. It's a total surrender. Without knowing the reason for the surrender, they should be able to accompany the one whom they love. Yes, my sisters and brothers, this is a high demand that Jesus is placing in front of these 2 disciples. As a result, we see that the companions get irked by these 2 who are coming to Jesus and asking him for these positions in his kingdom. They may be discussing among themselves with that statement, what we were about to ask, they have already asked. What shall we do now? It is here that Jesus is commending them with a responsibility. He tells, those who wish to follow me must be able to become like a servant. Diakonos is the responsibility entrusted with the disciples. Your vocation is to serve the other, giving yourself totally for the sake of the other. It is no more sympathizing. Sympathy is feeling pity for someone who suffers. But you are called to enter into a life of empathy. Empathy is partaking in the struggles of the other. As my sisters and brothers, the early Christian community developed this aspect of the diakonos to that extent. They gave up everything that they possessed and went with the disciples of Jesus to proclaim the gospel freely, fundamentally freeing themselves from every position, every attachment that they held for themselves. Even giving up their land, their property, their relations, they went in for preaching the gospel of God. And this is the service that is expected of the other. Look at Jesus sitting at that table of the Last Supper, getting up from the table, removing his outer garments, taking a basin full of water, washing the feet of his disciples. What a slave is supposed to do, the master is doing now. And the greatest sermon the world has ever heard is preached thereafter. If I, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, you must do that in turn. A welcome suggestion for all of us to empathize with the society, with the people who suffer and struggle, become servant leaders in the context of our society today. My dear sisters and brothers, I still remember vividly a picture that I saw during the time of the pandemic COVID-19. A young man of 21 sitting at the road between Delhi and Nagpur and eating the carcass of a dead dog. Can you believe it? I see a man passing by the car shouting aloud, "My brother, do not eat it, you will die." He stopped the car, went to a nearby restaurant, bought a plate full of food for him and placed it before him and ran away. People who feel hungry are around us today, do not have a meal a day. Do you sympathize or do you empathize? Why do we go around? Look at people in our own families too. How do we find the situations in our family? Do we find the drooping shoulders of our husbands? Do we find the tear-filled eyes of our wives? Do we find the desperate faces of our children? Are we there to sympathize or to partake in their struggle? Love is being near to the one whom I love. A simple holding of the hand, a hand around the shoulder of the other, a look into the eyes of the other, and a word perhaps finally, "I love you." Yes, my sisters, my brothers, the demand of brothers James and John on Jesus is now totally effective. I do not think that they were ambitious people, proud people who wanted to have something from Jesus as an advantage for them. I look at them as examples of my life. They told Jesus one thing: "Yes, we are ready to drink the chalice that is set before you." And they did. James was the first martyr to die for the Lord. And thereafter we know John spoke only 3 words. And those 3 words were one and the same: love, love, and love alone suffices. My sacrifices for the sake of the true love, Jesus Christ, will make me a person of love itself. Let love alone remain. Amen.
मूलं समीक्ष्य यत्र गम्यताम् सर्वेषां मार्गं तथैव प्रवृत्तिः